Yo guys, what is up? Max in our Cyberpunk video, and today we're going over my throwing knife build that is now possible due to the 2.0 skill tree rework and changes. I actually tried to make a throwing knife build on my very first playthrough in 1.0 of this game, and it was terrible because throwing knives just didn't really work all that well. They would just get deleted. Now you can infinitely throw your knives, and it's led to one of the most satisfying playstyles that I've ever played in one of these kind of games. It feels a little bit like Stealth Archer in Skyrim if you could play Stealth Archer very aggressively. We are playing on the very hard difficulty, and I feel very confident taking on massive groups of enemies. We're gotten the build to the point where it one-shots most enemies, and then the harder enemies we can basically perma stun lock so they can't even fight back. We're stacking up thousands of poison damage on enemies, as the clip is showing on screen right now. That is a over 5,000 damage poison tick, which is crazy. And in this video we're going to be going over where to get all the gear that I'm using and also the essential skills so that you can build this build yourself. Hope you guys enjoy this build and this playstyle. If you plan on checking it out, it's so much fun. Let's get right into it. So we're going to start with our attribute points and skills, and then we'll get into like my specific inventory. Now, this is a throwing knife only build. It's not throwing knives and katanas, throwing knives and silenced pistols. I am a pure throwing knife build, so my skill tree is going to reflect that. If you want to use other things, you totally can, but throwing knives purely is really strong. So to start us off, we're going Killer Instinct. This is going to give us more damage with our knives while we are stealthed, and we're going to be investing a decent bit into stealth, not too much though. We're going to grab Gag Order. This means whenever we land an attack on an enemy, right after they detect us, more enemies will not detect us. This allows us to keep our stealth multiplier more, and we're going to be able to kill full groups of enemies without them really ever picking up on us. We're also going to be grabbing Feline Footwork. This is going to give us more movement speed and mitigation chance while crouched, and we're going to grab Blind Spot, which converts our mitigation chance to stealth. So enemies, the more mitigation chance we have, the more stealth that we have, and then Small Target's going to give us even more mitigation chance when we're crouched and not moving. So if you want to sit down and line up your throwing knives without getting detected, you absolutely can. Now, this is where it starts to get really good for your throwing knives. First off, we got Scorpion Sting. At level 2, critical hits, headshots, and hits to weak spots will guarantee apply poison for 5 seconds. Now, what's so nice about this is we can also get Neurotoxin. Applying poison to an enemy via Scorpion Sting now also blinds and disables sprinting for 6 seconds. Now those enemies with those big guns that you're not killing in one throw can't fire back or will miss you, and this gives us a lot of survivability because we can just blind all enemies that we're fighting against, and then we can also grab Parasite for whenever we get these crit hits and these headshots. We're going to get health back. This helps us with survivability. Accelerated toxin absorption is crazy. Whenever we throw our weapons that are at enemies that are already poisoned, we basically trigger all of that poison dot damage into a massive poison explosion, which removes the poison effect. I found that this was partially scaling off of the damage dealt. So I currently have the Headhunter knife. I said I was going to talk about my inventory later, but real quick, I'm using the Headhunter knife. Whenever I attack an enemy with this knife, my follow-up attack, if it's a headshot, does 200% extra damage. And so that seems to be scaling the poison damage with accelerated toxin absorption. So boom, throw the knife, throw another knife after the Headhunter, and then we get a massive poison explosion, which is like nuking enemies. And then we're also going to grab Corrosion, which allows us to apply poison to mechs, robots, drones, and turrets. Next up, we get to Juggler. Now, Juggler is where throwing knives really take off. If you have multiple throwing knives before to throw things, the playstyle feels really good, but it all starts to click once you get Juggler. Now, this allows us to get an instant reset for all throwable weapons after neutralizing an enemy with a throwable weapon via headshot, crit hit, or poison. So now we've got 3 throwable weapons. If one of them kills with a headshot, crit hit, or poison, we get all of them back. And then we can just keep throwing our knives and keep throwing our knives, which is amazing. With Sleight of Hand, we're going to be stacking up to 100% crit damage. And then we're going to grab Finisher, Active Mercy, which allows us to do a finisher on enemies with our throwing knives, which gives us 25% of our health back, which is massive. And then we get Pounce. Now, Pounce allows us to play really aggressively with this build. On very hard, we are a bit squishy. However, while we are in this finisher animation, we cannot take damage, so we have a lot of iframes, and it's going to give us our health back. So if you ever get low on health, you just throw your knife at an enemy and get relatively close to them. Doesn't need to be that close, and then you can get your health back. This makes the build feel a bit like Doom, where you're like doing these finishers on enemies and getting your health back. Then you can go right back into combat. If your health gets low again, boom, finisher, and you're right back into it. We're also going to grab ninjutsu. This is going to give us the crouch movement speed, more mitigation chance while crouched, which is really nice. I didn't find these points necessary here. I just think crouch sprinting feels a bit awkward. But the main thing that we're going to be grabbing is style over substance. This now gives us guaranteed critical hits with throwable weapons when crouch sprinting, sliding, dodging, or dashing. Now you can like get this benefit after if you dodge and then like wait, like you have to throw relatively quickly, but you can dodge and then throw your knife, and then you get no movement speed penalty when aiming throwable weapons. This is why you see me dashing around so much in this build, is because I'm giving myself guaranteed critical hits, which is just massive damage increase. And to pair with that, we're going to be going into the reflexes tree. Now, it is really important to get dash for this build. Build starts to feel so good once you get dash. We're just getting slippery. We don't really care about all these like shooting while sprinting, climbing, vaulting speed, slide distance. We just want dash. Now, what we're getting dash for is one, the movement that it's going to give us, and also it makes the throwing knives and the guaranteed crits feel a lot smoother. And we're also going to be grabbing can't touch this. This gives us a 100% mitigation chance when performing a dash. This means that we cannot get hurt when we are dashing, and we're going to be dashing a lot. And so your dash, throwing knife, dash, throwing knife, dash, throwing knife, that means that the window that enemies can actually hurt you is very, very small. That's why you can see me in a big group of enemies just dashing around, killing everyone, not taking a lot of damage, because we are not taking damage when I'm dashing. And then Mean Streak is going to give us 40% stamina back after we neutralize an enemy while dashing, which is all of our throwing knife attacks, which gives us infinite dash. We're not going to be running out of stamina because we're going to be dashing, killing an enemy, dash, kill an enemy. And this playstyle is what really like allows you to be playing super aggressive with the knives and not have to worry about dying. Now, the big thing for your gear is just grabbing and filling up these slots with all throwing knives, all throwing axes. Axes usually have more base damage, but have less of a headshot multiplier and usually have longer return times, versus knives usually do less damage, but have a shorter return time and a more headshot damage multiplier. I like them both. I like having a combo of them both because I find that the axes typically hit a bit harder, but if I'm running 3 axes, I'll find that I have these like weird times where I don't have all of my axes back, and if I'm running knives, I'll basically always have something to throw. So right now I've been using 1 axe and 2 knives, or 2 axes and 1 knife, but I just didn't really enjoy the triple axes. Now, what you're looking for on your knives are big headshot multipliers. You're looking for bleed chance, poison chance, armor. Penetration is also really, really nice. The 3 things that I'm currently using is the Agao. This thing is nutty. It's new in the DLC, so you need to have the DLC to get this, but crit hits with throws emit a shockwave that can damage multiple enemies. This gives us AoE damage throws, which allows us to take out big groups of enemies, and it's got massive base damage, plus big headshot multiplier, shock chance, and armor pen. This is probably my favorite of all of the throwing weapons right now, just because of its ability to hit multiple people. The Hen Hunter knife is good utility. Gonna be honest, I think that you eventually move away from this thing, but for bossing, to throw this and then throw a hatchet with 200% damage increase triggers ridiculous amounts of poison damage, so that's a really good strategy. And then I absolutely love the Blue Fang. Once again, at the end of the video, I'll go over where to get all of these things. The Blue Fang allows us to stun enemies, and if you can just chain these knives back and forth, you basically can perma-stun, perma-blind enemies just so they just can't fight back. For my gear, I've just got some more so fashion, some armor, some chemical resistance. Your gear just doesn't do all that much. And then lastly, we get into our cyberware. For our cyberware, we've got 3 must-have things, and then everything else is kind of the cherry on top. So must-have things are the Sandevistan. I went for the Dynalar Sandevistan. This is going to give us a slow time by 50%, and it's going to give us crit chance and crit damage. This is amazing. If the situation ever gets sticky, you can slow down time and just kill everything in front of you. In addition to that, we're going to be grabbing the Synaptic Accelerator. This is going to give us a slowdown time by 30% whenever an enemy is about to detect us. This gives us even more of this slow time effect. So now we've got it when we're getting detected, and we've got it on demand, which is fantastic. This allows you to go up to a group. They're going to detect you, but you're going to kill all of them before this slow-mo ends. You've got 2.5 seconds in this. You can usually kill a whole group of enemies in that 2.5 seconds. And then lastly, we're grabbing optical camo. This is going to allow us to cloak and go invisible, and we're going to be pairing that with the relic slot emergency cloaking. This allows you to go invisible right in front of enemies, and they will completely lose sight of you. You can just, like, they will basically disengage from combat, and then you could just walk up behind them and then stealth kill them. It is kind of OP, to be honest. And so that is really nice. You're going to want to make sure you get optical camo. Now, for the like bonus stuff, this is things that you can add on top. You're going to want in your frontal cortex a way to reduce the cooldown of your cyberware. Your cyberware is really, really powerful, so a way to use it more often is going to be great for us. In our skeleton, you're looking for dense marrow. This is going to give us even more melee damage. For the nervous system, I also grabbed Stabber, which is going to give us more crit chance with blades and throwable weapons. I'm pairing that with Hands, which gives us 15% more crit chance with throwable weapons, and the Kiroshi Cockatrice Optics, which gives us another 25% crit chance. As you can tell, we're basically going to always be critting. Not only when we're dashing, we're always going to be critting, but when we're stealth and just being still, we can also give ourselves a ton of crits. The reason I went for so much crit chance is because while dashing and stuff in combat feels really good, it can feel a little awkward when you're trying to be super stealthy to need to dash around to guarantee those critical hits. And so we're grabbing a bunch of crit chance as well. So even when we're not dashing, we can still deal damage. Range Guard gives us a bit more survivability, more headshot and weak spot damage, more bonus stealth damage. But the big thing is armor plus tons of armor when there aren't any enemies nearby. If you're getting fired from afar, which is kind of the only weak spot of this build, is if enemies are shooting at you from afar, you're going to be getting a ton of extra armor, and that'll help you close the gap on them. Legs, I like the double jump. Circulatory system is going to give us health back whenever we kill an enemy, even more healing. Handle wraps, more crit chance, and then the optics is going to give us even more crit chance, and that is our cyberware build. So for the Agao axe that does the big AoE shock explosions, you're going to want to come to this building right here. This is in Dogtown. It's to the right of the stadium, this long building. And there's going to be an enemy in here called Aozarin, who when you kill him, he'll drop you this hatchet. The Blue Fang stun knife can be found at the melee weapon vendor in this like southern desert area. It is to the right of Dogtown. You're just going to head into the desert and find this melee weapon vendor. And lastly, the Headhunter knife can be bought in this Pacifica vendor. This is just outside of Dogtown to the left of it. In the West Wind Estate area, you can buy the Headhunter knife here. Guys, that was going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. The throwing knife playstyle is so fun. In this game, you can play so aggressive or you can play really stealthy and you just do so much damage. By the way, I will be streaming my playthrough of my throwing knife only run on twitch.tv/Moxsy, and I do have the gifted subs sniper rifle. You get an exclusive sniper rifle if you gift my Twitch channel 2 subs, which is part of a promotion that CD Projekt Red is doing for the launch of Phantom Liberty. So if you want to come support the channel as well, I really do appreciate that. I will catch y'all in the next one, guys. Take care. Peace.